An absolute classic. I think of it frequently. I play it not as often as I should. I'm going to play this one today. Uh, really hard on the cuts on that song, and just and it's not done in like a sobby devastation kind of way. It's just speaking reality, and it's, man, I'm sorry, like all you like people, man, all that like gangster rap stuff, it does not come as hard. Does not come as hard as some of the stuff on these albums. It's just, whew, whew, it's cool. Anyway, there's also like, do you know what time it is? And there's like other songs that are like fun, like, just I'm the baller MC kind of stuff, which is great too. You can't go wrong. Coolmode D, my friend. And then lastly, the first Coolmode D record I got, third monster hit album. Found this in a record store. This is how I found out about Coolmode D, I think. Saw this in a record store, and this cover, I just saw this cover, and I was like, who is this guy? And that is Coolmode D. The title says it all. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Ain't that one of the coolest covers you ever seen? Oh, man. Good album. It's a really good album, front to back. I'd say as far as like track after track after track after track, this is his best album. And the way I would categorize these, this is the hardest album, for sure. This is the most polished as a full, like, sit down and listen. And then as far as, like, party rhymes, like, I don't know, just, like, backpack kind of rhymes, you gotta go with How You Like Me Now. How You Like Me Now is, like, the most fun, I guess you could say. But, man, this album, I go to work like a doctor or an architect and spitting rhymes at the subway. I mean, just like, what? Like, anyway. You gotta watch the music video for Go to Work. That song's amazing. All night long, all night. Just about, love making all night long, and his sexual prowess. But he says it in a way that's the Coolmode D way. I'm hitting hard. Again, you do not want to be in a battle with Coolmode D. No, run, run. Get the picture, the avenue. They want money. It's a song about gold diggers. Totally destroys, what was that Jay-Z song about gold diggers? They want money is way better. And one of the things that was cool about Coolmode D was he had that bragging of like, yeah, I can get all the girls or whatever. But it was also like, I don't just want somebody fake, that's just after my money, or somebody that doesn't have a good conversation. I think it's on this album where he talks about, what's the song that he has? I think it's All Night Long. Yeah, I'm looking for a good conversation. Physical attraction. What does he say? He says, a woman without a good head on her shoulders is nothing but a piece of meat. For that, I go to the butcher shop, because I'm choosy about what I eat. Like, it's this whole song just about like how he wants somebody who's intellectually, emotionally deep to get busy with. Like, hell yeah, man. How often do you hear that? So, great album, Coolmode D. Knowledge is power. This was really, I think this was 87, 88. This was really, 89, I'm sorry, it was 89. This was really when the civil rights movement and the hip hop was reaching its peak before the industry really decided to attack it. Public Enemy, Coolmode D, even Run DMC. I mean, they were all like really. You had the Stop the Violence movement. I think that was 88, 89, and the HEAL movement, HEAL Education Against Lies, and that was spearheaded by KRS-One. And you had these. I'm sorry, one of the most amazing things nobody knows about. You have to know about this. In the 1980s, all the rap groups got together, all the biggest names, Salt and Pepper, Run DMC, Queen Latifah, KRS-One, and they built these collective movements. Heal Education Against Lies, Stop the Violence movement, and they did these dope music videos. Even Dr. Dre was in one. They did a West Coast All-Stars video, all about promoting healthier community. Just amazing. Just amazing. You don't see that nowadays. You really should. But if nothing else, the fact that it did happen lets you know it can happen again. Absolutely beautiful. Loved about that. Love that about that era. Moving on, Def Jam Records continues. Somebody who's not super conscious but is super talented and fun to listen to. LL Cool J. LL Cool J. Bad. Yeah, this was Def Jam. Russell Simmons was a shrewd entrepreneur. Signed LL, and got this great like punching bag image at the back. This is just some really hard. Man, what can I say about this album? It's just good. It's just really good. It's not going to elevate your consciousness. There's probably a couple songs on here that have some awareness, but it's just good, man. Really good music. All right, I'm going to move on a little bit. I keep saying I'm going to try to move a little bit faster. This is a repress. Actually, let me save on that. I got to go. I got a few more to get over. MC Shy D. This is a fun one. In fact, I'm going to show this with some of the astounding women in hip hop that were coming out in the 80s that everyone should know about. If you watch nothing else in this video, nothing else, you need to watch the next couple albums I'm going to show. The Two Live Crew scene in Florida, in Miami especially in the 1980s, was really big, and I believe MC Shy D was part of that scene. He had a big beef, by the way, with KRS One, I think, but who cares? Honestly, some of those beefs are so ridiculous. This is a fun album. And he's like really young, and he's talking about like going to school and getting like all this attention as a rapper and stuff. This isn't one that I put at the top of the list, but if you see it for cheap, you should jump on it. It's really something different. The thing about the Miami, Florida hip hop scene in the 80s, not as conscious, not as politically aware at all. And you can see why, right? If you compare like the level of community, uplift and kind of awareness, right, and history, like New York or Miami. Like it's no contest, right? New York, you've got the Harlem Renaissance history, and you're just going to have a lot more going on there. But yeah, anyway, since we're talking about the Miami scene, what we've got to talk about, I've got to pull up my records, is some of these unknown groups that you probably haven't heard of, and you absolutely need to. Respect. Right, Inquiet, I think is how you pronounce it. This is their only album, I believe, and this was on Luke Skywalker Records. I don't know how they didn't get sued for that record label name. Also part of the Miami scene. What can I say about this album? Oh my god, dude. This album is the definition of a hidden gem. I liked it so much that through no easy amount of searching, I scored a mint copy, which even has the 1989. It's June 29th, which is actually pretty close to today. June 29th, 1989 sticker on there for sale at the Underground Records Tapes and More store. It was $9. $9 in 1989 was still kind of expensive for a record. Man, this album, so good. It's super grimy, super like just raw and real and fun. And you can just tell, it's like if you've ever wanted to be it's like you're kind of a fly on the wall at just like, just like a crew of women just like having fun and kicking it with each other. And it's just, it's nothing like anything I've ever heard on a record. The rhymes, out of this world. They've got a whole track called Janet Reno. It's all about how Janet Reno is going to come after brothers that haven't paid their alimony. Like, where else are you going to hear something like that? And then it's got, Let's Rock and Roll, Y'all. Let's Rock and Roll, Y'all is one of the best party songs I've ever heard. You are going to dance when you hear that song. And yeah, just Respect, by the way, the title track is, of course, sampling Aretha Franklin. That one's pretty fun. It's not the best song on the album, though, because there's so much other better stuff. But, and there's a couple of, like, smooth, kind of ballad-type songs, but you gotta hear this album. You gotta hear this album. It's just such a gem. Such a gem. And I wish they had made more albums, but it was, you know, it was hard to break into the industry. And I'm really glad this one exists, though. Next up, similar scene, similar name, totally different album, totally different person. We have Antoinette, Who's the Boss. Antoinette, Who's the Boss. She actually blew up quite a bit more than Anquiette. Fantastic. This is, like I said, these two albums are what you have to know about. Everything else in the video, you can forget. Don't like my opinion? Fine, whatever. Delete, skip. You got to check out these two albums. They're nothing like anything you've ever heard. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, women do not get enough representation in hip hop, and I think because women do not have access to spaces where people are ciphering and freestyling, and I've seen this firsthand. Like, it's a super sexist culture. They oftentimes, this is going to sound bad, but oftentimes women do not get to develop the skills to be the best because they're excluded, right? They're excluded from all the spaces where they need to practice and connect with the best people around. And so for that reason, you know, you will sometimes hear MCs that are women might get a lot of props for being women or whatever, but they're not necessarily the best. And then that sort of reinforces this sexist stereotype circle, which is like, oh, they're just giving her props because she's a woman, you know? It's like, maybe, but also she got excluded from like the last 10 venues probably, so who cares? But all that goes out the window when you hear Antoinette and you hear Anquiette. They absolutely blow it out of the park. Absolutely blow it out of the park. I could not dream of being able to rap as good as Antoinette. Fantastic. And it's because it's women rapping uncensored, unfiltered, grimy, raw stuff from Miami from the 80s. I mean, it's dope as hell. It's unlike anything you've ever heard. And it's just, it hits so hard. So even you can forget all that history. You can forget all the stuff I just said and just put it on and you'll have a great time. So yeah. Can't say enough about how much those are hidden gems. How lucky I am to get this. By the way, I also bought this. I managed to score a near mint copy, which is really, really hard to find. Okay, this is going to be a long video, longer than I thought because I'm talking so much. But we've got to get to some other heavyweights, my friends. And I've got some 90s hip-hop to show as well. But while I'm showing underground stuff that you haven't heard of, this is a record that was kind of a promo, small release only, that I'm sure I'd be pretty surprised if you heard of it. This is also one of my favorite, hip-hop records. I'll never, ever sell this. Does it even have anything on the label? Yes, it does. Okay, if I take it out of the sleeve here. This is my friend's Natural Resource. Natural Resource from the 1990s. And you might think, who's that? Why do I care? Well, my friends, Natural Resource was only around for a very short time. They only recorded like 6 songs. They're on 2 EPs. I should buy the second one before I release this video. I don't want the price to go up. I need to get that one. One of the lead people, kind of the nucleus of that group, was a little-known artist, now known as Jean Grae. Jean Grae, for those who don't know, is a really hard-hitting MC. She's carved out quite a niche for herself nowadays, but in my opinion, nowhere near as good as Natural Resource days. So nowadays, she's like really fighting really hard. You can tell, in my opinion, she's fighting really hard to make a space for herself in the really sexist environment of hip-hop. But in the 90s, when she was part of Natural Resource, she was on this jazzy vibe. All the beats on here are super jazz. and it's really cool. It's really mellow and really chill, and a lot of fun. I love me some jazzy 90s hip hop. She came out of the scene in Brooklyn, I believe it was, with DJ Primo, one of the most underrated DJs ever, DJ producer, DJ Premier. I mean, a lot of people know about him if you're into hip hop or whatever, but he should be a household name. DJ Premier did all the Gangstar stuff. He was one of the members of Gangstar, and with Guru rhyming. But he also did DJ Premier. What else did DJ Premier do? He did like every great song in the early 90s in hip hop, including an album where the MC gets all the credit and not the producer. Not something you hear me complaining about too often. But oh yeah, I'm going to complain about it on this album. You all know it. It's Nas. It's the Illmatic. Half of this album, no doubt, Nas's lyrical skill, absolutely. But half of it, DJ Primo, DJ Premier. Whew, what a talent! What a talent! Everyone who knows old school hip hop knows this album. There's a great documentary about Nas on Netflix. At least there was. I highly recommend checking it out. This album, if you don't know it, it's routinely on top 5 greatest hip hop albums of all time. Is it on my top 5? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It is a fantastic album. Is it overrated? Yes. It's very overrated. That's a little bit harsh because it is a masterpiece. Overrated masterpiece? Yes. Everything I've shown you before gets more play by me. I think is better. Hate to say it, just true. It's more nuanced. All the stuff I've just shown you has a lot more content and stuff that's more unique, stuff that you haven't heard before. This is the foundations of modern gangster rap. Obviously there's Ice-T and what's his face, Schoolie D, all those cats. But like really, this is when gangster rap. This is '94. And this is when New York gangster rap really took off. This is not a gangster rap album necessarily, but it really paved that direction, which is not a direction that I'm happy that hip hop went into. And yes, you have Tupac and Biggie and all that stuff. I'll get into that later. But I don't like the fact that this album is not. It's self-destructive. It's a really self-destructive album. I really worry that people like this album so much. It's kind of a weird thing. Why do so many people listen to this album so much and like it so much? I put this album on when I'm feeling my worst. And for that, you got to give it credit, right? When I'm feeling my worst and I'm feeling like I hate the whole world and I hate my life, that's when I put on this album. It really speaks to the desperation and tragedy of poverty and violence and crime, like a really good reality rap, which is what gangster rap was called before it was called gangster rap. It was called reality raps. It's a true, solid reality rap album. Terrific beats, but it's messed up. Like, it's really messed up. You should not have this in your music diet on a regular basis, in my opinion. It's bad for your mental health, man. This is a really messed up album about really hard stuff. That's like tragic. It's like really tragic and sad. If you're going about your day and you're listening to New York State of Mind and you think that's healthy, man, put on something else. Give it a shot. See how you feel afterwards. I bet you're gonna feel better. That said, I'm not trying to judge anyone that's got to survive doing the grimy life thing. Everyone lives that reality. Not everyone. I'm sorry. A lot of people live that reality. It is their reality. But this can reinforce that reality if you listen to it too much. What I like about 80s hip-hop is it's all about elevating the community, elevating the culture. You listen to Lil Jon on Coolmode's album, and it's the same as stuff on this album, but it's contextualizing it. It's looking at the full picture. Whereas this is like a day in the life of a hustler. And for that, it loses some points for me. Is it produced amazingly? Are the rhymes fantastic? Absolutely. Am I going to listen to this front to back? Nope. Is this in my top 5? Nope. Is it overrated? Yes. Should the original pressing be $120, whatever the frick it is, $300 now? No. But this is a repress. This is a German repress. I want to say 2020. If you can get represses of hip hop from Europe, you should do that. The quality is much better, in my experience and from what I hear, because pressing plants, they press fewer copies, and they usually, Europeans have, in my experience, an appreciation for hip hop kind of beyond Americans. Americans consume hip hop. Europeans artistically appreciate and respect hip hop in like a truly artistic way. And so you're going to find better mastering, better mixing, better packaging on European hip hop albums, in my experience. Some albums in general. But yeah, also sad thing about this album, Nas mentions in the documentary, almost every person in this picture is dead or in jail. So, you know, if you're going to bump this album all the time, maybe that's something to think about. Elevate your life. Don't get stuck in the poverty cycle, in the sadness, the tragic lifestyle. You know, obviously some, you know, can't always do stuff about it. Institutionalized racism and bigotry. It's really hard. But I do appreciate 80s hip hop for how it tried to elevate the community a little more than this one did. Still, great album, especially when you're having those really bad days. Speaking of albums that elevate more, Queen Latifah, the one and only. If you're going to get a Queen Latifah album, I'd say it's probably going to be Black Rain. But that didn't have a full release, from what I remember. I don't think it had a sleeved release. And so this is the, I don't know, it's kind of it might be a tie. Nature of His Sister is really, 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 really good. This is Queen Latifah at her most conscious, most kind of like reggae vibes going on this one, which is really cool. Most New Jack Swing. New Jack Swing is like when jazz was kind of mixing with hip hop in the 80s. Fantastic movement. Love New Jack Swing material. Latifah's had it up to here. Enough of the rough stuff. This is a great album. This is a really great album. What can I say? Queen Latifah brought kind of a lot of love into hip hop. A lot of love and respect and care, which I really appreciate. And did it in a badass way. And she really carved her own path. And it's fantastic. And that's a great album. One thing I will say about Queen Latifah, though, if I'm being totally honest, and I think in this video I am, I'm sharing opinions. I'm being brutally honest in some scenarios. Queen Latifah, I feel like some of her rhymes she does not nail. She does not nail the timing and delivery on some stuff. And I would say between these two, it's no contest. I'm going to go with Antoinette. No contest. Did Queen Latifah have more of an impact, bring more love into the world in her music? Yes, absolutely. But she has a little more of a privileged life, and you hear it in her music. She grew up in New Jersey. Her brother was a cop who died, actually. And she's got an homage to him either on this album or the next one. I read her autobiography. It's quite good. And you learn more